The current global health crisis, the COVID 19 pandemic, has posed an unprecedented challenge to our health systems, economy, socio political organizations, and the infrastructure of most countries in the world. The pandemic has affected physical as well as mental health adversely. However, mental health concerns usually take a backseat to the physical aspects of the disease whenever such pandemics do arise. Therefore, research on the mental health aspects of COVID 19 is lacking due to obvious reasons. With the world unlocking and new strains of virus popping up, we have with us Anandita Anand to make the uncertainty in our heads a little well resolved. Anandita is a personal growth coach, a therapist, and NLP practitioner, and those are just a very few of the many caps that she dons. So, welcome to the podcast, Anandita. Thank you for doing
Thank
this.
you. Thank you so much, Prakriti. I am extremely excited and delighted to be here with you.
So, I think let's first tackle the main question as in how would you describe what exactly is pandemic anxiety?
I love this question. First of all, this word has been used so much in past 1 year, and I would love it if all our listeners would understand. Forget pandemic anxiety. Do we even know what anxiety is? Is what I want to ask people. What is anxiety? I mean, we are all psychology enthusiasts. Everybody wants to know, hear about it, understand human behavior, disorders, and everything. So I think I would like to begin by simplifying what anxiety means. Anxiety is actually nothing but a lot of physical sensations in my body. Now, these physical sensations or reactions could be vomiting, it could be pet mein gud, it could be butterflies in your stomach, it could be tingling feelings in your hand, it could be heartbeat tez ho jana, it could be palpitations, it could be breathlessness, it could be wanting to sleep a lot, it could be not wanting to sleep anytime, it could be changes in your appetite, it could be anything. So anxiety is basically a lot of physical reactions that happen in my body or in our body. What causes these physical reactions? Why am I having these physical reactions? Right. So very fun question, which I would like to ask those who are listening. Close your eyes for like just let's say 10 seconds. So you can do it for me. And generate anxiety about anything. Anything. Just get in touch with your anxiety. All of us have our own favorite themes and topics. Just get in touch with it.
Yeah, got
Okay.
it.
What physical sensation do you have when you have when what physical sensations do you label anxiety?
I mean, I get really hot up behind my neck and on the back of my
Great.
shoulders.
So that's your anxiety, the
Yeah,
physical sensation part. I have
yeah,
a very fun question for you now. 10 seconds back, you were all right. We were recording this podcast, right?
yeah.
What did you do to generate anxiety? What happened? What did you do after closing your eyes?
Thought about maybe the worst aspects of what's
Awesome.
going wrong. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. So the second thing I want to tell everybody about anxiety is it is related to this one amazing emotion we have. Prakriti, you will tell us what that emotion is because you just experienced it.
Panic? I don't know. For me, it was panic. So,
And
fear.
if you had to use, thank you, absolutely. Anxiety is the physical sensations which get created in our body when we have this beautiful emotion called fear. There is no other emotion that can cause anxiety. So these sensations are only going to get caused if I'm having fear. Let's go a little more deeper. To generate fear, what did you do? You were not in fear 10 seconds back. What did you do? You've already answered it, but you just answer it for the
Yeah,
audience one more time.
thought of the worst things that could go wrong.
Thank you. So, can I
Yeah,
simply say you imagined worse things happening?
yeah,
Very good. So, the trail goes when I think about or when I imagine painful, damaging things happen to me in future, it creates fear. When fear gets created, my brain starts secreting a lot of chemicals and signals my body to create a lot of physical sensations, which could be heartbeat तेज होना, उल्टी आना, नींद ना आना, neck के पीछे गर्म होना, which we label as anxiety.
yeah.
So, anxiety is actually just a lot of physical sensations getting created in my body when I think about or when I imagine painful or damaging future. So, fear is actually an emotion which is only and only and only and only and only related to painful future imaginations. You can have anger about the past, you can be sad about the past, but fear is always about the future.
Yes, true.
So even
That's
if it is something happened in the past, it might happen again in the future. Even if it is 10 minutes from now, that's also future. Or 10 days from now, that's also future. So what's pandemic anxiety? Pandemic anxiety is when people, we start imagining that because of the pandemic, something damaging or painful will happen to me in future, either physically, financially, or emotionally. So in these three aspects, when we keep imagining, and we keep imagining it over and over and over and over and over again, which creates a lot of fear, and that fear continuously creates physical sensations called anxiety. So that's called pandemic anxiety.
I mean, for me, I thought it was just the hyper awareness of everything that's happening because we have had pandemics before in terms of, say,
Yeah.
SARS or Ebola, but because it was never
Hmm.
this close to home, I guess, it's never thought of it in such a great deal. And now that it has
Right.
happened, people are just more impacted by it, also. That's fair. But that leads me to another question.
Hmm.
There have been other pandemics.
Right.
How would you say that the impact of COVID has been different from the rest in terms of our mental health?
It's been different because in past 10 years, I have not seen mind be as important as body in any of the cultures of society. We did not consider that mind will also get impacted. Mind was the last thing people would think about, that it's getting impacted. Thankfully, because of so many organizations, so many student bodies, so many government bodies, non-government bodies, so many young people coming in front and talking about mind and mental health, so many professionals coming in front and taking initiative and talking about it, it is so amazing that mind became such an important part of this pandemic. People talked about it, people worked on it, people had workshops, there were all sorts of MNCs, organizations working on the mental health of their employees. There was a constant awareness, at least, even if people could not take measures, there was at least a constant conversation in the society about it. So this has been different because mind actually was at par with body this time. We actually wanted to take care of our minds equivalently as good as we wanted to take care of our bodies. So we were not just this time working actually from the perspective of maintaining our physical immunity. We actually started globally working on mental immunity as well. I was a part of a global campaign which happened on 10th of October with the World Federation of Mental Health. And they took a huge initiative to have a digital global campaign, which we did with Youth for Mental Health and everything. So I think a lot of initiatives happened so that mind can be at par with, the body, because this was something that was really required at this time. So I think this is how it was really different.
I think what you just mentioned is really fascinating that corporates, for the first time, actually acknowledge the necessity of mental health because until now, we've seen a certain degree of apathy from the private sector when it comes to the mental health of their employees. Sure, we get sick days, but they are difficult to manage, or you don't have separate mental health days. And yeah, basically, I think that was something that really, really changed our discussion regarding mental health. And also because I think because the labor crisis happened and a lot of unfortunate things happened in the very first lockdown, it was just
Yeah.
very, very necessary that everyone had to step up and be like, no, listen, your mind goes with your body. And it's time that we started balancing that out. Another thing that you just mentioned was mass media. We've become insistent on constant news consumption about COVID-19. Okay, how many cases did we have today? How many cases across the state or across the world? And the new virus strains popping up. And that also, of course, creates anxiety. That creates your fear, and you have anxiety about it. So, how do you deal with the constant news consumption? And how do you could you give us like maybe a few tips to deal with the anxiety that comes with it?
I think that's a very important question because I got that question so many times during so many of the workshops that I did or interviews that I was doing. And this is a constant question that people ask me because the only way we could remain connected to anybody became mass media or social media. Because all of us went into a lockdown without knowing, okay, what exactly is even my neighbor doing? Because
Yeah.
initially we used to get out. So there's this very, very, very nice metaphor I love My mentor gave it to me, and I really love this metaphor, and I would like to share it with all the listeners, which is, so Prakriti, if you want to bake a cake, and if you put cake batter into the microwave, what will the microwave make?
A cake, yeah.
Awesome. If you put samosa into the microwave, what would it warm up or make?
A samosa.
And what if you put a shoe in the microwave?
Molten leather.
Yes, absolutely. So our minds are exactly like a microwave. It is my choice and decision what I want to put in it and what do I want to cook in it. Now, it is very important for us to understand that yes, a lot of news is going to come and a lot of things are going to come. Two things which are very, very important to understand is the quality and the quantity of any kind of information. Mass media and social media are one of the best tools we have across the world for information. Now, apart from that, everything keeps happening on it too. I understand. But for information, they are the most powerful tools, the most powerful sources, right? So, two things that I would like to tell everybody. First, what is the quality of content you're putting in your mind, in your microwave, right? If you are watching news, which is loud and it provokes a lot of fear in you, right? There are news channels you might watch, or there are actually WhatsApp forwards, or which have very alarming images or alarming sounds or alarming way of speaking. I mean, if you're telling a news, why can't you be just normal? Okay, these are the number of cases that are happening. This, you have you seen like 26
Yeah,
January parade? They are really bland. They don't provoke anything inside you. So I think personally, as a mental health professional and somebody who practices NLP, I understand how voice, tone, timbre, quality, words impact. So that is why, first of all, the quality of news that you're watching or the quality of material you're reading is very important. Second, very important thing about quality is, have we ever gone and checked the source? We just go, switch on the TV. I would agree. This is my personal thing. I would agree to any news only if I know the source from where it is coming from. If the
yeah,
source is dicey, please do not agree or do not
yeah,
watch. So I think the second very important thing is, please check your sources. Where has the news come from? Who's speaking about it? What is the credibility of that source?
yeah,
If
yeah, that's
I,
true.
yeah, absolutely. If I am, a mental health professional, then I can only, speak, or I can only be a credible source for that kind of information, right? I can't actually comment on, you know, the how the economic policy is actually should be made or should not be made or something. Then my interview becomes completely invalid until it,
Yeah,
connects to mental health. So I think something that we really need to understand is, what is the source of this information. We never go and actually trail back, where did this WhatsApp forward come from, right? So for example, the other day my aunt came down and she's like, there's this new round of pandemic coming, the virus has my first question is, where is the source of information, right? So I would definitely want to have authentic sources of information to put in my microwave
yes,
so that
that's
I
true.
can cook the right thing. Second, now talking about quantity, how much do you want to see it, and what's the point, right? Mass media and social media are sources of audio visual information. When you asked me the first question, I just gave you the source of anxiety and fear, which is our imaginations.
Yes.
If any information you're reading or watching or listening to, if it creates imaginations of a painful, fearful, or painful, damaging future, stop watching it. Or watch it for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, because again and again watching it makes it replay that imagination more and more. And then that creates what we just refer to as pandemic anxiety. So I think these are the two things which are very, very important. Watching more is not going to help you anyway. So I think the quality and the quantity of this information is very, very, very important that we need to understand. Fun fact: the microwave never walks up to the batter and puts it in himself. We put it in there. What I want
That's
to
true.
say is, we have a choice. It is my personal choice what I want to put in my brain.
I have a very important question after this now. That
Yes.
so travel restrictions happened.
Yeah.
People couldn't go home. They were isolated alone. Even right now, a lot of people cannot go home because people at risk at their home or something.
Yeah.
Point is, all of this is very daunting, and this it's very, very lonely. So how do you suggest we cope with this isolation?
I have begun to love this word lonely and loneliness in past 1 year because I think this has been asked to me so many times. So what do you think is loneliness, Prakriti? What is loneliness according to
Um, just the absence of somebody you care about around you, I guess.
you?
And
Right. Hmm.
you need that validation or love or support from people physically also. Like, I don't think virtually it works as well.
So actually, very simply putting, loneliness is I don't have the people I want around me.
Yes.
There is always going to be a way where you can get connected to anybody who comforts you or you love. Or you might be with somebody right now. They might not be the person you exactly want to be with, but at least you have some human contact around. So, in that sense, none of us is actually completely lonely. We just don't have the people we want around us, right? So, up till then, I think it is very important for us to understand how about we break a little bit of this rigidity. What the pandemic actually has taught us, which we all need to understand, is that human mind has the capacity to solve any damn problem. We have now shifted completely within a month. Entire work culture shifted to Zoom and Google meetings. Within a month, nothing shut down. People got impacted, but nothing shut down. It's not that companies have completely, these huge companies shut down or we're not working or things are not happening. Everything got shifted. So when it comes to if you're feeling, you don't have anybody or you don't actually, you're feeling very lonely or you're at a space where you're not with your family, but you really want to be, the question you need to ask right now is, and which is very, very important, and this is for any problem that you face in life, literally any problem you face in life. This is personally what I've learned also. We all need to ask, what can I do right now? So we keep thinking that if I can't do the best thing, I'll not do anything. So it's either
Yeah.
that or nothing for me. And that's what actually narrows down our well-being. So okay, I can't, meet my mom right now. I can't like meet my dad right now. I can't travel right now. But what can I do right now to make myself feel better? Any one thing, any one small thing. Okay, maybe I can give a call to a friend. I can do a WhatsApp video call. So a lot of social spaces open. A lot of people are actually doing so many classes. A lot of people are getting acquainted over those classes. I personally am about to start this initiative myself, in which every Sunday for 1 hour, I am going to do a guided meditation or a guided mindfulness or a guided brainwave management session. So anybody and everybody can come and it's going to be like a fun discussion. People are doing book readings. So a lot of things
Yeah.
are actually happening. If you need human interaction, I know physical intimacy is very important. Even as a trainer, when I give trainings and workshops, I feel, oh, I really wish like I could do it physically. But until that's not happening, what can I do right now? How can I make it fun for me right now? How can I make it interactive right now? See, there are just two options. Either you remain in a stuck space where you keep reiterating, I'm lonely and I'm lonely and I'm lonely. Or you ask yourself, okay, I'm lonely. What can I do right now? And the moment
Yeah.
you actually ask yourself that question, your mind is going to be like, okay, problem focus nahi, solution focus strategy.
But this also brings me to a really important part, which I personally relate to, is that Indian youth, for example, students or people who have just started working,
Hmm.
especially those who live away from the home, they usually develop like their own world, right, beyond their households. And what it usually does is that our horizons are expanded. So, say, example,
Hmm.
people are okay with drinking, but their parents aren't, or
Hmm.
just your political ideologies, for example. But now that they've come back home, how do they maintain that sense of freedom they had, I guess? Or how do they maintain that level of socialization they had?
Our definition of socialization, my definition of freedom, my definition of fun, if you will notice, Prakriti, is very limited. Limited to what used to give me fun up till now, what used to
Yes.
seem like freedom up till now. If you really want to survive this, and if you really, really, really want to live a life which is, going to support your well-being. It is really, really time that we start questioning our limited definitions. So for me, the definition of, a fun workshop always was very contained to meeting people physically, offering them food, having fun with them. And it has to be a half day workshop, otherwise, it's not fun. So when the pandemic actually happened and when I had to shift completely to online, I was like, this is not me. But then I asked myself, what can I do now? So when I expanded my definition of what is fun for me, I started including what all can I do with, this digital platform. I learned Zoom. I actually took 1 week and I learned Zoom officially so that I knew all features to make it fun. So I expanded my definition. Now, our families also come in our social circle, which I understand that a lot of us might not be, we all definitely have our own worlds, and living with, family again and everything can seem like very difficult as of now because your ideologies might not match, so many things might not match. Great thing is, first thing, I mean, a lot of it is opening up again. So most of us would be out and like it would be getting better, is what I'm hoping also. And I'm seeing also right now. Other than that, definitely communication is something definitely that I feel is very important. And then I realized that this is the time I need to start learning how I can work on my coping and resilience, first of all, as a person. And second, how can I finally, it's my chance to, so either I remain completely isolated, which doesn't work because, people would come and want to spend time with you and talk to you. So can I spend just 10-15 minutes with my family in a day so that they are assured that my world might be different, but there's a part of my world which they are also part of. So I've played a lot of Uno in past 1 year, a lot of chess, a lot of Ludo, a lot of dumb charades at home, a lot of carom. So if you can make them a part of your definition of, social group, they might not feel that threatened. So I think that's something. So I think that's something, again, it's going to push your comfort boundaries. But I think that's again going to teach your brain how to, expand and solve that problem.
But work from home has happened, and
Of course.
it's just brought down this Cartesian divide, right, between the professional and personal life, which
Yeah.
means people are working longer hours. And in fact, I
Yeah.
think a lot of people are also reaching burnout at a faster pace. So how do we try and achieve a reasonable balance in our lives with that?
I think it's a very important, very, 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 very important issue to address right now because I can't think of one single person who's not been impacted by it because there is something very, very um, difficult and something very, very challenging. It's called screen fatigue.
Yes.
I, as a mental health professional, had to work on the screen, right? Students are working day and night in front of the screens. So not just classes, after that, you have to work also on the screen. Professionals are working on the screen. Doctors are working on the screen. Teachers are working on the screen, right? I can't think of one person who's not working on the screen right now, right? So I think a lot of sitting in front of the screen causes screen fatigue, which actually impacts your mental health a lot, right? So this is the problem. Now, what's the solution? I again said it is a choice. Where can you cut down? Once you understand this is impacting, would you want the impact to continue? Or would you rather actually have time off screen as much as you can? So, what do we do? Even for leisure, we go and watch Netflix. So, first of all, I think the work from home culture is going to impact you if, and obviously, because there's a lot of screen time involved. So I think the first thing is that we all need to understand, and please go and read up on screen fatigue, people. So I think it's very important that all of the listeners, if you're listening, if you don't know about it, we go and please research and read about screen fatigue because that is something which is really, really impacting us without us knowing also. So I think that's very, very important because it's going to impact your mood, your thoughts, how you think, how you feel, how your body feels, how you sleep. So it's really impacting. So all of us need to question and figure out while maintaining my work culture, what can I do And where all can I cut down on my screen time? So the first thing is definitely that. Very, very important. Where all can I do that? And second is, what do you want to do when you're not on the screen? So honestly, what really helps is being near natural resources, right? So even if you like gardening, if you like going for a walk to the park, anywhere, because that actually cancels down a lot of effect of the screen fatigue. Because nature has a lot of power to heal your body and to provide a lot of solace very scientifically. So try indulging in what all activities can I do, or where all can I cut down on my screen time. Second, very important thing about maintaining a work life balance is having a space in your house which is just going to be a workspace, right? And all other spaces are your personal spaces. So, for example, your living room, if it is your workspace, then please do not sit and have dinner over there. I'll tell you why. The mind starts compartmentalizing spaces. What we have done is confused it. So if you're sitting on your bed, eating over there, watching Netflix also there, there's a particular sort of thoughts your brain gets used to creating there. Now, if you try to work over there, it creates those similar thoughts which get created when you're doing some leisure activity. Even if it is like your balcony, you put a table in your balcony, or you put a table and chair in your study, or you put a table and chair in your, living room, but you choose that one space where you would like to sit and work and communicate with your family and everybody that, see, this is my workspace, these are my work timings. During this time, I am mentally in office. So during this time, I would love it if you could just give me my professional space. And other than that, after this, then I'm completely at home. Then second thing is, this is for everybody who are bosses. And I would like to talk to all bosses right now, that it's really, really important. Please encourage your employees to rest and not work post work hours. Because again, because we're at home, we think, you know, every time is work time. So I think that's very important for all of us to understand, to define our work timing and communicate it with our colleagues. Learn to create boundaries. Creating a boundary doesn't mean creating a barrier. The bottle that you drink your water from has a boundary. That's why it can contain water. It doesn't have a barrier. It still has an opening from which where you can drink, right? So we need to really understand at home, communicate your work boundaries to them, that these are my work boundaries, these are the matters. This, if you overhear my conversations or something, I would really appreciate if you don't, interfere or talk into it, because then that's my workspace. So you need to create that work boundary. And second thing is, then at your work, you need to create like a person, you need to communicate them your personal boundaries. That, see, my mental health gets impacted. And if you want me to be a quality employee or anything, post this time, I have been recommended by my doctor not to work. Or like I have been highly recommended that this is something I'll not be able to do. So I think communicating your boundaries is very, very important. And having fun. And when you're not working, what are you doing? We really need to start asking ourselves, when I'm not working, what am I doing? Because if I'm again going into the screen, then I have taken a choice. A lot of people come to me and they're like, how can we manage the pandemic anxiety? How can we manage our well-being in the pandemic? What can I do to maintain a work life? Everything, every question can be answered in just this one point that I'm about to tell. So Prakriti, would you like to know?
Yes, please.
In this entire world, there is nothing in your control apart from four things, which I'm about to tell you. These are the only things which you can control in your life. And if you can learn to control these four things, and you take a choice of controlling these four things, your life is sorted. Number one, the posture in which you sit. So if you slouch, so everybody just slouch for a moment, those of you are listening, and Prakriti, you can slouch for a moment, put your hand on your head and look down. Awesome. And just look down. And tell me, how are you feeling?
Exhausted. Very exhausted and tired.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can you just now erect your spine a little bit for me? And sit as if Wonder Woman would sit or Superman would sit. So just like open your shoulders a little bit, right? And
Yeah.
just like keep your both your hands on your waist and just look up and tell me, how are you feeling?
Like I could do 300 Kapalbhatis in a minute. Very, yeah.
And it's just taken 10 seconds to change postures, and it's changed how you feel. Most of the people who don't know this, your spine and your posture determines what you will think and what you will feel. So if your postures are slouchy while working, if you're sitting on the bed and working, or actually having a conversation personally also, if you're spending most of the time in a very slouchy posture, looking down, frown on your faces, that's going to impact your thoughts and emotions. Or you can choose every day, the moment you get aware about it, sit in a very upright posture with your neck a little bit lifted, like your chin in perpendicular with your knees, right? So just like sit like that and check. That makes a huge difference. Prakriti has just given us a testimony of
And that's, dear listeners, what having a spine means.
it. Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first thing which is in our control is our posture. Second thing is even easier. Would you like to know that, Prakriti?
Yes, please.
Second thing is the food you eat. Nobody's coming and putting food in your mouth, I hope, right? So second thing is the food you eat. If you're eating the kind of food which is stale, right, or which is not cooked perfectly, or which is a lot of spicy, a lot of oil, it depends on everybody's body. But if you're eating food, or if you're choosing not to eat food somehow for reasons well known to all of us, right? If you're thinking that, okay, I've gained a lot of weight during the lockdown, I should not be eating, and if you're starving yourselves, both of it is going to impact you so much, because when you have a lot of empty space in your stomach, all of that gas and the acid that gets created, guess where it goes straight? It gets absorbed by your brain in seconds. And when it absorbs it, it creates so many of those beautiful thoughts, which really, really, really bother us then. If you're
Yeah.
eating the kind of food which is actually not healthy for you, and you can have your own definition of healthy, it's completely fine. You don't need to actually have expensive diets or anything. But if you know that something you're eating and your body is constantly not feeling okay with it, right? Just check that. So the food that you eat again impacts your coping, your thoughts, and your emotions a lot. There was a time when I left milk and milk products for 3 months. It was amazing because I saw so much difference in my mood, in my emotions, in my thoughts. So that worked for me. So I'm just giving an example. So check what kind of food you're having, when you're having, and even if you're not having, so start eating. So I think that's
Yeah.
very important again to understand this is in your control, right? Third thing, very simple, very beautiful, very nice. इससे आसान कोई चीज नहीं हो सकती. Your breath. It is completely in your control. Aha moment for all the listeners. The speed of your breath determines the quality of your thoughts and emotions. So I have a question from you, Prakriti. When you're very, very anxious, or when you're very fearful, or when you're very angry, what is the speed of your breath?
It's really high. Like, you have to remind yourself to
Absolutely.
actually pace it down.
Absolutely. Right? When you're watching a movie that you really like, or when you're spending time with somebody that you really like, or having, like right now, you're having like this conversation with me, what is the speed of your breath?
It's very relaxed. Like,
Right? And how are you feeling when your breath is relaxed?
I feel better. I feel like my brain can function very easily, which
Very
is,
nice. And
yeah.
I think, Prakriti, I'm asking you, but this is for all the listeners who are listening to us. Check. So if the speed of this is a Rambana I'm giving everybody. It is the secret that you need to have. And I wish it was taught in schools and colleges and universities and everywhere. The speed of your breath determines the speed and the quality of your thoughts and emotions. So while I'm talking, and for the rest of the podcast that you're about to listen to, how about you deep breathe? And it's the simplest thing you can do throughout the day. You don't need to close your eyes for it all the time. You don't need to be actually sitting in a posture. How about while watching TV, while doing your work, while giving an interview, while having a conversation? All you need to do is, can you control the speed of your breath? And can you make it nice, slow, and deep? You don't need to punish your nose and lungs and go all hard on it. Can you just, according to your capacity, start deep breathing? And apart from that, during the day, can you put a 10-minute timer on your phone and start practicing this one small thing? And I can vouch for it, it's changed my life. This is exactly what I did that made me say my lockdown was amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I've
Start
done the
doing that,
same this time. Yeah.
right? And if you start doing it, it's going to be magical. Again, people will be like, बस इतना आसान है, मुझे कुछ difficult दो. How about we make our life simple and not difficult? You do it for 11 days, drop me an email, drop like Prakriti an email, and we would love to hear your feedback about it. Because I have a testimony of thousands of clients I work with and myself and the workshops that I've given. It is magic. This is the magic we were not told about, and we need to really start doing it. So I think this is the third thing that is in our control, our breath. And the fourth thing, supremely beautiful, amazing, important, and the most important. Where am I spending my energy? Right? So if I have a reservoir of energy inside of me, which I use to do various tasks, what is the task I would like to spend my energy on? Gossiping or calling my friends and telling them how miserable my life is? Or telling everybody that, this good thing happened in my life, or doing my gratitude journal, or meditating, or reading something new, or listening to our podcast, or, spending time on social media, going for a run. It is completely your choice where you spend that energy. So, from today, can you start taking that choice? That's the question. So, am I so used to sitting in those patterns that will not be helpful for me? Or will I really take responsibility of living a better life? So I think these are the four things which are in our control. You do these four things, you'd not need anything else.
One final question. So the
Yes.
world is opening up again. Do you think it will help or lead to a greater conflict of emotions for people?
It'll be both. It depends who you are, in my opinion. Like the world has opened, I've started going back to my office again. It's completely sanitized. I'm seeing clients. I would really look forward to actually going and doing projects, physically. So definitely it's been very good and better for me. It depends again who you are, because do you have the coping to cope with the challenge that's coming up? The only thing it will determine whether it will be a conflict for you or comfort for you is if you have the coping. So that's exactly what I said, that the pandemic was amazing for me because I already had tools and techniques, and I had the will to use those tools and techniques also. So if you are working on your emotional immunity and on your mental immunity, then any kind of conflict or challenge is not going to impact you, because then you're bulletproof, right? But if you're actually having, if you feel that you right now lack resilience or lack that emotional coping and immunity, it is brilliant time that all of us start investing a little bit into our mental and emotional immunity. And just like, I think this is one thing that all of us need to do, that not just our physical immunity, all of us need to start working on our mental immunities for not just this pandemic, but for the world outside, for every situation that's about to come in future.
Thank you so much, Anandita, for coming in. This was a really, really insightful discussion. And
Thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun, and I added so much to my knowledge also.
and I really hope our listeners take away a lot from the discussion that we just had. And if they have any more follow-up queries or questions, they can always reach out to either you or at Mind Simplified or
Or,
with
yeah,
us at Unbottle Emotions. This has been a great collaboration between your podcast and ours, and I think it's a series of collaborations that should just keep happening. I feel.
I agree. Thank you
But
so
we'll
much for being such a lovely host. And thank you so much. I had a lot of fun. And I really hope that this can benefit a lot of people.
Yes, I hope it works out well for everyone else. All the best with everything else to come to all our dear
Thank
listeners
you.
also. And bye
Thank you so
bye.
much. Bye bye. I'll see you soon.